minutes. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 275 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz. Hopefully opening day at Saratoga treated you well. A lot of things going on, some big prices, some favorites, no rain whatsoever. They got the whole card in. Great job by Naira to make sure they took care of that. Hope your first day of Saratoga was fantastic. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. After you do that, we want you to do two things. Hit the notification bell so that you'll know when new content will arise, because we have a lot of content on this channel, especially during the Saratoga and Del Mar meets. And then also smash, and I mean smash, that like button. That will send the YouTube algorithm to our channel, and anyone who loves horse racing, our YouTube channel will be right at the top of the list. So please make sure you do that as well. You can follow me on Twitter at @HKravitz. And I must thank anyone out there who has subscribed recently or followed me recently on Twitter. Our Twitter numbers are way up. I know our co-host Pete Visco, and I'm sure Paul Halloran, they could say the same thing. We really appreciate all the followers on Twitter. Please make sure you follow us on Twitter, because we have a lot of really good information as well that we tweet out. You can see on the bottom of the screen also, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. There it is right there. That is the email that you can send me for questions, comments, concerns as well. We have audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you can't catch us on YouTube videos, you can, of course, listen to us. Although, as you already know, if you're a viewer of the show, is that obviously you cannot see video replays and other things through our audio podcast. So we recommend in general you try to watch us on YouTube, but we greatly appreciate all of you that listen to us through our audio platforms as well. Subscribe to our Power Picks. We have two different kinds of Power Picks: regular Power Picks, which are below the video player through Patreon. And then we also have Saratoga only Power Picks. Now, we talked about this a lot all week long and on Tuesday. We're not going to talk it nearly as long tonight. Again, look below the video player, or most importantly, go to our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. You can sign up for one weekend only subscription, or you can sign up for the full meet weekends subscription. Again, we only have Saratoga Power Picks Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. The question is, do you want it just for one particular weekend, or hopefully you want it for the whole meet? We've had many people subscribe for both, especially our full meet Power Picks. There's our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. And very quickly, before I bring on my co-host, let me just show everyone where those Power Picks can be found for Saratoga. It's very simple. All you're going to do is on the screen right there, you're going to go to our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. You see Pete Visco, the author of our website, has created a big banner. You just click that banner, or you can click our drop-down menu here on the right and go to Power Picks. There's also other things. This is our entire menu. It's in that horizontal bar drop-down on the top right. But anyway, press the top banner there. It takes you right to our Power Picks. You can learn about the Power Picks, and the first two are for current Power Picks subscribers right there. That's individual weekend, and here's full meet. And then below that are people that are not currently part of our regular Power Picks, individual weekend and full meet. It's right there. However, I just want to reiterate once again that at midnight tonight, Thursday, after midnight Thursday, you're not going to be able to sign up for the individual weekend picks for that upcoming weekend. In other words, if you're interested in the weekend only picks for this weekend, you need to sign up before Thursday night, midnight. But the full meet Power Picks will be available to you all the time. Last but not least, we've got a big pool party happening. Very exciting. Starting at 3:30. It says 3, but we're going to be on at 3:30 on YouTube. It's already up. Myself, Matt Miller, Kyle Roscoe, Charlie Freeman. We're bringing live at the Crestwood OTB, going through the late pick 4 at Saratoga with live reaction and $1,000 to bet. It's a lot of fun. If you're in the Chicago area, go to Club Hawthorne in Crestwood. We'd love to see you there. It's just $35 for a lot of good stuff. Please check that out. It's a lot of fun. And then again, we're going to have a live podcast starting at 3:30 Central Standard Time. Again, that was Central Standard Time, 3:30. With live reaction going through the late pick 4 at Saratoga. All right, got through all that. Let me bring on my co-host. First, from the East Coast of Maryland, Mr. Pete Visco, and from the Saratoga Special, whose first edition was out today. I have not had a chance to read it yet. I don't know if Paul Halloran had an article. I'm guessing he did, but we'll find out shortly. Let's bring him on. Paul Halloran, wearing the Saratoga Special hat. Guys, how was our first day at Saratoga?
Paul's on mute, so we're starting off perfectly well, which, doesn't get any better than that.
It would have been good, Pete, if my ADW was on mute today.
Well, you know what I mean? If they would just have shut down for the day, would have been lovely, I think. Yes, I agree with you on that.
It's funny. I just went back and looked. I struggle on opening day, but that's okay. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Oh, no doubt it is. We got Christine Races here. Lots of back and forth for me to end up even. Listen, even is not bad. At Saratoga, if you're even, you're up. It's like the casino. Trish Smith. Hey, Howard, Saratoga is here. Definitely. And Trish, I don't want to jump the gun, but if you follow Trish on Twitter, Trish, did you get engaged? And I'm sorry if I'm completely wrong, but I think you did. So if you did, Trish, or married, I believe engaged, but I'm not sure. But if you want to clarify, Trish, or not, that's fine too. But if you did, Trish, congratulations.
She did. She's accepting congratulations in the chat here. So, yes.
Awesome. Nick Feldman is here. Let's see. Oh, Trish, surprised and shocked. Still trying to wrap my head. Congratulations, Trish. That's awesome. Really, we're happy for you. And anyway, we got a lot of people watching, listening. Pete, how was day one in Saratoga for you?
Yeah, nothing good. I mean, it wasn't. Okay. I mean, it's racing. Like I always say, it's racing, and you can bet money, so that's good. Even when you lose, it's still fun.
There you go. Well, I'll toot my own horn. I had actually a good day. I had the early pick 5, which I tweeted out as part of a smaller ABC that I played. Yarrow was a nice win bet for me for Christophe Clement at 3-1 in turf sprint. I had the try in the last race, actually, also, because I played. Here we go, guys. We talked about this. I played the 7. I keyed in first and second and got second. Of course, IRAD with the MTO won the last race. So anyway, I didn't break the bank, but won several $100. So they'll take care of one racing day. That'll probably be gone tomorrow. But hey, what are you gonna do? And Paul, Gary Contessa with a maiden wins the Scholarville. How about that?
Boy, I'll tell you. And I know Nick Feldman. I saw Nick's ticket online. So hats off to anyone who had him. The only thing I would say is this. I was not on the favorite at all. But having said that, I was certainly not on the 2 either. But I'm not surprised at all that the favorite didn't win. I thought the horse was drastically overbet. But my selection was horrible. And give Contessa credit. He, that is a kind of a bold move, but he said that if it were a maiden race, he wouldn't be afraid running against those horses. So why would he be afraid to run against them in a stake? And, everything lined up and I'll tell you, she looked good too. She's
didn't break great either. She didn't break very well.
Yeah, she did get a good trip. And, it looked, was it the 5 coming up the rail? Looked like might make a dent, but she was never in doubt. So good for Gary Contessa back at it after a brief retirement. He went into some pin hooking and some other parts of the business, but I think he has a handful of horses now, and he'll get plenty more after that result.
For sure. By the way, we're here to talk about the late pick 5 at Saratoga for Saturday. We didn't actually mention that, and we'll talk about Saratoga today also. Let me just get that out right now, guys, before I forget. So Saratoga today is our new morning show. It starts at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's only half an hour, and we are always going to cover Saratoga, of course, hence the name. Either the late pick 5 or the early pick 5. We'll talk more about it. It's Paul and I tomorrow. It's only going to be 2 people on in the morning. I'm going to have Paul with me tomorrow morning. We'll talk more about the format tomorrow, Paul. But anyway, please join us for our race day show. Saratoga today, 10 a.m. Eastern on YouTube. Last thing about today, Pete, we'll get to the pick 5 for Saturday. Track was playing weird. Inside, no bueno. the track's playing very slow. The times were slow. I think it was pretty fair. I mean, speed was okay, closers were okay, but inside, no bueno, and it was actually very slow times on the dirt.
Yeah, I had the races on and off as I was working, so I didn't pay attention to the times, but I agree. I did think it was fair, which I'm used to. I'm usually a Saratoga hater because it's too much speed. And today I thought you could come off the pace and you can do a little bit of everything. But you said, yeah, up the rail wasn't the best or being on the
No.
rail wasn't the best. But I don't care about that because I mean,
Yeah.
it plays the way it plays. I mean, you figure it out as you go. If not, I mean, quality horses were winning most of the races. Horses you can get to were winning the races. So as long as that's happening, I don't think we have a ton to complain about. Nick Tamaro, by the way, I doubt he's watching, but if he was on the show Thursday, and I'm surprised he probably didn't put a foot through the TV when the what race was. I forget what race was that. Yes, when that horse
race,
won.
7?
7 maybe.
No.
I think it was. Oh no, 8. I think it was the 8. My Sea Cottage in the 8th. Which I think he said he had the last 2 times out, and the horse didn't hold, and then gets on the lead today and never relinquishes it.
They got some big thunderstorms after the races. I have no idea how the track's going to play tomorrow. The turf is not going to be firm tomorrow. I'm assuming all the races tomorrow, Friday, will be on the turf, but it's probably going to be more listed like good. We'll just have to see. All right, guys, let's get on to the pick 5 for Saturday, shall we? Actually, before we do that, let's talk about race 4, and we're doing it real quick. In fact, I'm not even going to show the PPs, guys, because there's really not too much to show or talk about in a lot of detail, which is sort of a shame considering it's a grade 1. But let's just very briefly, you got the Diana, which is always one of the premier older filly mare turf races of the year. It's a grade 1, of course. It's $500,000. For the older girls going in mile and eighth. It's another Chad Brown fest. We've seen this before. 4 of the 5 entries are Chad Brown in Italian is just an absolute monster. And she's got speed, obviously, guys, but Fev Rover is not a speed horse. There's absolutely no way that the other 3 Chads are going to get in the way of this 2. I hate to say cinch, but wow. I mean, based on the fact that 4 of the 5 are Chads, guys, 1-9. I don't know what you put this horse at.
Well, the sad thing is, it's actually there's interesting horses. The other 3 Chads are pretty interesting in their own right. Just maybe not going against an Italian, but I mean, market segmentation has just been on fire. I know we've had that horse on the show a couple times, and Fluffy Socks, I know I had last out, and just a fun closer. But again, it's going to be hard to run down in Italian. And then White Beam is one of those that we still don't know a ton about. So I think there's intrigue. Maybe you'll have to be behind, most likely, in Italian, but you bang a straight exacta if you can get a price and see what happens.
White Beam owes me nothing. She came through for me on Preakness Day that helped me get to the NHC. So I like White Beam. I mean, Paul, what do you think the lowest exacta will pay on a dollar bet? 3-1? 5-2?
No.
Lower?
Yes, I'd say even money.
Oh, okay. So throw everyone an exact out there that'll pay 2-1.
The one thing to consider is 4 different owners. A lot of times when Chad has multiple horses, there'll be like 2 Peter Brandts or 2 Seth Klarovich. And Saul Cuman, who has one of them, is on record and he's a big Chad guy, but he's on record as saying he hates it when he runs against other Chads. Well, he's running against 3 of them on Saturday, but I think it's the 3 of the 4. As Pete said, both of those horses are running well. Maybe because they could split some money, it might be a little higher than even money, but you're not going to get more than 2-1 for sure, I don't think. And I'd say it's one of those 2 is the second choice.
Yeah, I go 2-4. I like 2-4 if I had to pick.
Last question for Pete, and then we'll move on. If you're playing the early pick 5, Pete, and you're an ABC player, is this just stone cold A in Italian, no one else, or do some Insanity C horses, or does it depend on your ticket and how much you want to spend? I'd be tempted to maybe throw 1 horse. For me, I think it'd be the 5, but maybe 1 horse, or if the turf is wet, Fev Rover won last time, maybe some horses don't want a wet turf. I mean, is there any horse that you throw on as a seed and waste any money at all? I'd just say waste, but spend any money at all? Or
No, I agree with that. I think it depends on your ticket. I mean, I don't think it hurts because obviously, if you can beat in Italian, I don't care what the odds of the horse you pick is, you're going to blow your ticket up. So you're going to blow your payout up. So I would say, yeah, maybe as a C, you pick one. I wouldn't go too much further than that. And then, but again, if the rest of you, I didn't look at the early races yet, so I don't know how tough the races are. If you can go skinny early and play something big with an Italian and then just play something with, maybe if you're not even doing a full ABC, maybe just play something with a few of the other horses and go real skinny in the other legs just to have it, just in case. It's not the worst idea. Just, I wouldn't waste too much of your bankroll on it and lose a lot of your value.
Yeah, there was a strong headwind, by the way, as Jeff Amser mentioned. And so that the track was slower because it was hard to keep moisture on the track. I mean, basically. So anyway, tomorrow could be completely different. Rain, we'll see. I know today it held off, so we'll see what happens. Guys, let's get into the pick five, shall we? The late pick five. Let me go ahead and bring the banners up on the screen right now for race 7. It starts in race 7. You see our picks right there on the bottom of the screen. Myself and Pete has the 4. Paul has the 1. Let's go ahead and show race 7. This is the pick 5, late pick 5, Saturday, opening weekend, Saratoga, about 4:26 Eastern. You see the field there of 7. Now, again, we're going to assume they're on turf. It's 5.5 furlongs on turf here. It's an allowance optional 62.5 for the older girls. If it comes off, there are some AEs. There's no MT. Actually, these are at main track only. So you can automatically upgrade the 8 and the 9 if it comes off the turf. We're going to assume it stays on the turf. The more line favorite is the Clement horse, number 4, Breeze Easy Rosario. That's who I'm going with. That's who Pete is going with. She's the favorite. Pete, what do you like about Breeze Easy to start pick 5?
Well, I do not like this race all that much, so it was the lesser of many evils. But I did like that Breeze Easy in the last race. Sort of was closing well, didn't break very well. Was a little too far back than I think maybe she should have been in that race, which is surprising with Rosario up. I know that never happens, but the only thing I worried about, and actually it's a benefit and a curse, is she just looked pretty green still for a horse who's had a bunch of starts. Like, she was running weird. And I was like, if she could just run straight and not break badly, I think she's just might be better than this field. I think she just needs to put it together on the track. And if she can do that, I think there's enough pace in here that she can sit off the pace and sort of get a closing win.
I have absolutely zero to add. I agree. She was a little bit goofy. I don't love the 2 for 16, but I think there is enough speed in the race. And Paul, we talked about this a little bit with Nick Tamro. You can close going 5.5 on the turf at Saratoga. In fact, there was a price horse, the number 3 horse at 7-1, won today, closing from off the pace. Yarrow was not on the lead when she won a turf sprint today. So these turf sprints going 5.5, you know they're going to go. And I don't know if it's the way that the track is constructed or whatever the situation. I know there's a little bit of banking on the turn, but you can close in turf sprints at Saratoga.
Yeah, especially when the rails are out. You know, we talked about that with Nick the other night. You know, sometimes when they come down, you know, if you get inside speed, it can be formidable. But yeah, I would agree with that 100%. You know, as far as this horse, I can't argue that on paper she looks the best, but you know, as the favorite, 2 for 16 lifetime, 1 for 15 on turf, she's beaten me. I mean, I'll use her defensively, and if she's just the best, she'll win. But I think this is the type of horse you're supposed to try to beat.
Well, you're going to do a playlist, who I have second. Is this just a light bulb angle for Wesley Ward? I mean, usually the Wards come out firing. She frankly was not very good in her 2-year-old season, or really early in her 3-year-old year. But whatever they did last time obviously worked. And you got 20-1 on a Wesley Ward winning by 5 at Ellis. If she's a brand new horse, look out.
Yeah, the horse has got, if you look at the PPs, you know, broke in at Saratoga on, I think it was Travers weekend last year, and went off as a heavy favorite. No surprise, a Wesley Ward 2-year-old being bet, and, you know, showed speed. And there you go, Howard. a race that looks like it fell apart. But then, out to Del Mar and Santa Anita, and then Turfway. Finally breaks her maiden at Turfway. And yeah, I think the light bulb angle is as good as anything. 2 in a row. I think she'll be forward, which will help break from down on the inside. And as I said, I think she's the next likeliest winner beyond the horse that I think is going to be way over bet. So that's how I landed there.
Paul, I can't say the number one is the Bomb Diggity because that'd be the 2. But anyway, moving on.
Who has no turf piggity?
Oh, the wordsmith Paul Allen. Real quick on Lady Milagro, Pete. Perhaps a wire job, but she tends to quit, it looks like, but maybe she gets loose Saturday.
Yeah, I mean the quitting you don't really like. She's cutting back to 5.5 for the first time in her life, so maybe the loss of the half furlong will be enough for her to hold on. She's another one. Doesn't 3 for 19 like you talked about with the 4, Paul. 3 for 19 lifetime isn't the best, but from a buyer standpoint on the turf, she fits. She was there. I mean, look at those pace figures. She was running a hot pace last time and didn't really. I mean, she didn't fold. I mean, she fell to 3rd, lost by 3, but that was a pretty hot pace she was setting. So it could be worse if she gets on the lead and nobody presses her, which doesn't look like. She's fastest. So if she goes and nobody can get to her, stranger things could happen. Maybe
Pete,
get a little bit of a price.
You know what, Pete? I'm not positive she's going to be fastest at 5.5 at Saratoga. She very well could be, but they talked about it on the broadcast today. 6 at Belmont versus 5.5 at Saratoga are really 2 different races.
Yeah. But her time, but she does go fast. So
she does.
I mean,
yeah, she went 21-2 last time. Yeah. I think the 6 is going to be right there with her, right next door to Timmy Hill's horse with Dylan Davis.
Well, that's why originally I think I like the closers in this race, just because I thought there could be speed. But again, we always say that, and then a horse gets on the lead and they let the horse go, so you never know. But I'm hoping what you said is the case, Paul. I'm hoping that they actually do hook up a little bit and get some closers.
Yep, it's very possible. Let's go on to race 8, guys. Now, the late pick 4 is of special importance to me selfishly, and anyone who's going to be at the Crestwood OTB on the southwest side of Chicago on Saturday, because we are going to be playing, I'm sure. I haven't talked to Matt Miller yet, but I have a feeling part of our $1,000 bankroll given to us by Hawthorne Racecourse will be a pick 4, and I'm sure it'll be a pressed up pick 4. And it starts in this race right here, guys, and this is not easy. It's a New York bred race. You see our picks on the bottom of the screen. These are New York bred maiden fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. So these are older 3-year-olds and up girls going 7 furlongs, New York bred. This is tricky. You got an 11 horse field, absolutely wide open based on the morning lines. The morning line favorite is the number 10, Ichiban, for Linda Rice and Jose Ortiz. It's a combination we're going to see a lot. Paul, let's go to you first. You are going to go with Ichiban, who ran a very solid race last time. I think it was at a mile, and now she's cutting back. Do I have that horse correct? I think so.
Yeah, and that's part of, I do like the cutbacks. This horse woke up a little bit last time. Hadn't run much before that. Ran horrifically in the one turf try. But I do like the cutback. I see both of you guys have the 9. The 9 is obviously very playable for Kelly Breen and Mr. Amore stables. I think this race is a big headache, Howard. And all you need to know is that I picked the 10. I didn't even realize she was the favorite at 4-1. So the morning line favorite is 4-1, which means you need Advil, Tylenol, and Excedrin 9 when you handicap this race.
It's a tough race. We had close to 1,500 views on our show from Tuesday for the opening day card. So thank you very much. And I also want a special shout out to all of you listening or watching that heard about us on Capital OTB with Seth Merrow. We have some ads now running this week at Capital OTB, our good friends over there. And next month we plan on being on there Racing Across America show in the morning. So shout out to Capital OTB, who is throwing some ads out there, and they're sponsoring us. So actually, we're sponsoring them. Excuse me. So shout out to Capital OTB. Pete, I thought this 9 was absolutely fascinating. Now, we have absolutely no idea what the board's going to look like. We will know, obviously, into the late pick 5, because you can see probable will pays, doubles, which are very important. Or if you're just playing late pick 4, of course, you'll see the odds. First of all, can we give a shout out to the ownership and the name of this horse? Nay, Jude. What a great, love the name, especially if you're a fan of the song Hey Jude. But anyway, Kelly Breen knows how to get a horse ready. There's some bullet works in the holster, and I'll show the pedigree here. I don't want to steal your thunder, Pete. This horse could be a nice horse. We'll see. Here's the dam.
Yeah, I mean, on the dam side, if you scroll down a bit, 4 for 11. There's not a ton of the progeny has run, but 4 for 11, 6 out of 11 in the money in dirt sprints. So that's not the worst. And then
November Rain was a nice horse, though.
Well, that's what I was going to say. She's a half to a sprint stakes winner, who was November Rain, who we're talking about. So I mean, there is decent pedigree. Again, it's not deep on the dam side.
No.
On the sire side, 11% wins, 3-year-old and up, first time starters. That's a pretty solid percentage for that. Usually a lot of them are pretty low doing that. We pick up IRAD, which is nice. The works have been really good, really, pretty consistent and strong. And the last one, hopefully, we assume the last one was just sort of a, hey, let's get ready to run sort of work. I think this one might be ready to fire. And I mean, you're putting IRAD on it, so you obviously have a little bit of confidence in her. So I'm going to take the shot in a race again where I just thought the other horses, there was a lot of bad races in some of the other horses and a lot of inconsistency. So I figure let's take one who hasn't shown us they're inconsistent or bad yet and see what we can get.
Steven Vanderbrook, we have 24 likes and 52 people watching. Actually, Steven, that number that you guys might see is only people on YouTube watching. We have a lot more people watching on Twitter and other avenues. Usually we have several hundred people watching live. So yeah, please smash that like button. And Sylvain, I don't know if you guys know this, Pete and Paul. Apparently we are now famous in Canada. So Canada, thanks for watching. I think Sylvain, I believe, is from the Toronto area, if I remember correctly.
I could sing the anthem every word. I know the anthem by heart. If I had someone said on Twitter the other night, if you had with a gun to your head, what song would you pick that you know every word? For me, it would be "Oh Canada." How's that?
That's awesome.
We've got time, Paul.
We'll save that for the Woodbine Mile.
I'll start you off. The first word starts with O.
Oh, Canada.
Nay, Jude. Guys, you know how many starters Kelly Breen has last 5 years at Saratoga? First-time starters. You want to take a guess without looking? How many first-time starters does he have at Saratoga on the dirt last 5 years?
9.
10. How many has he won?
0.
He actually won 1. He's 1 for 10.
Did he get
you
one?
Know what?
As of when I first did it, he was 0 for 9. Did he have one recent?
I thought I saw 1 for 10.
No, these DRFs, they switch up their stats, which funnily sometimes.
In a weird way, I like that. That almost convinces me that I like this horse more for the simple fact, hear me out, everyone out there, because people think I don't know math. He doesn't do it often, right? So he's only going to do it with his best. That's sort of my point. The other thing, it's really damn hard to win in Saratoga. People are going to say, well, he's only 1 for 10. I think he was in the money a few times. There's no reason for him to send him up there. I would say New York, Brad, but he could run him in New Jersey if he wants. And I know the purse is less, but I got a feeling this horse can run, guys. We're blabbing here, but we'll move on.
One thing to point out about Kelly Breen, though, if you take Saratoga out of the equation, his numbers first-time starters dirt sprint the last 5 years are 16%. So you can back it up if you do like that horse.
I thought Mim ran well last time, guys. I like the fact that she has a little more experience. I think she's getting better. Second off the layoff, outside post, blah, blah, blah. Very logical for me for Dylan Davis. Maybe a little price we're going to get here. You would agree, both of you. I guess you guys have the source of the money.
Yeah, I thought I like, again, we like when there's some improvement and you could see a sort of a reason for it, and maybe the move to the Cassie barn, maybe the move did it. Although the only thing that scared me is it was a muddy track and you're hoping it wasn't the mud that sort of brought Mim forward, but
she's the 8. Well, it might be Mighty tomorrow, so we don't
that's
know.
true. That's
She's
true.
the 8.
Saturday, but
She's the 8. She didn't do anything special here, but this was a pretty fast race. I mean, 22. That's quick. And I just visually she looked better than 57. And maybe that's stinking thinking, guys, but I don't know. She seemed very professional. I don't see reason why she can't win tomorrow if things work out for her, unless one of the first-time starters is a monster. My only negative, I guess, is the horse that she lost to was 22-1. I guess you can take that as a negative, but I don't know. She ran perfectly fine to me here in this replay.
well, and it's again that was the first race in about what was that, about 8 months,
Yeah.
coming off new
Yep.
trainer in the mud. So
Yep.
if it wasn't the mud that brought her forward, and maybe she just found something and grew up at 3. We know the 2 to 3 can be a pretty big leap. So
Yep.
at least she's got some talent. The only thing is we seem to like all the horses on the outside, so hopefully that doesn't play against us for the most part.
Yeah, Paul, I hear you, Paul. Paul Patain, if you are new to the show, welcome. Wants me to move around the PPs. Paul, we don't always show every horse because people just get dizzy and it's just a little annoying to continually moving up and down the PPs. But there's the field there, Paul, for you. It looked like the main horses are on the outside. I wouldn't discount the 6 guys also. I'm very curious to see Charlie Baker, Paul, who can win first time out. This is a really well-bred horse. And I just want to point out, if it's wet, how about a 437, guys? Tomlinson number but this filly by Gunrunner out of a Yes It's True mare with some good works too. I'm interested to see let the board be your guide, right, Paul? We'll just move on, but that's
I think so. Yeah, Charlie, first time starters dirt sprint is only 8%.
Okay.
But he can win. I also there's a 2 inside the gun. There's another gun runner inside the 2 with Mott and Alvarado. Took some money last time, didn't run much, but goes from Joey Martinez to Junior. Got off slow last time. It's not unusual for Bill's horses to improve a lot second time out, and back to the wet argument with another gun runner.
I looked at that horse real carefully because I was watching the races on July 2nd, and I was, why is Joey Martinez on this potentially talented Bill Mott horse? This horse did no running at all. The fact that Mott's coming back quickly, Paul, with Junior, I think you might have something there. This horse is on my ticket. This is just weird. Weird.
No, I mean, it's one of those horses, Howard, that pays $15.80, and after the race you say, how the hell did I let that horse get by me?
Here was the only thing with that one. I was looking at that on the dam side, 1 for 21 in dirt sprints and 1 for 29 on dirt overall. So you're like, well, hey, maybe at least from the dam's perspective, this one might like a different surface at some point.
I don't know, but Pete, I don't think they bred the gun runner looking for.
I know, but if you keep running like that first one, Paul, they're gonna have to do something if they want to make some money.
110 big ones, Pete, to go to gun runner.
Yeah, but 110 when you're $125,000 stud fee is not that much, unfortunately.
That's what I meant. 125 to
120, go to gun runner. But the horse only costs though 110.
Yeah,
so
that's
not
true.
the best sign in the world.
You are correct.
Absolutely. Paul, again, thanks. We appreciate you joining the show. And Paul, please bring on any new friends, people you have. We see new people, guys, in the chat almost every show now. It's very cool. So we really appreciate all the support. Let's get on to the big races of the day other than the Diana, guys. There are 2 stake races. One is turf. One is for 2-year-olds. Let's get to the first of the 2 stake races in the late pick 5. It's the Kelso, formerly the Forbidden Apple Stakes. They've renamed it to the Kelso. It's a grade 3. It's 1 mile on turf for the older boys. $175,000 is the purse. And there are some big names in this field. And this is a very interesting race. There's 8 in the main body of the field. There are also 1 also eligible if it comes off. Gunnet, who is a horse I've chased a lot, who Linda has finally got this horse turned around and will be a major factor. I highly doubt this race is coming off the turf unless they get a lot of rain. There's 2 big names here, guys. And let me go ahead and bring up our banners of our picks here for race 9. Race 9. The big names are Annapolis at 8-5 here. Pletcher and Irad and Casa Creed 5-2 for Mott and Saez, and I believe Bill Parcells' group. Is that correct? I believe that's right. Let's go.
Mike Francesa.
I'm sorry, Mike Francesa. My bad. I knew it was someone famous. I can remember. P, let's go to you. You have an interesting pick here. You're the horse that I thought was interesting last time at Belmont and faces what appears to be a tougher group, but you still like anyway. Excuse me. The number 6, Filo de Ariana for Cassie and Jose Ortiz.
Yeah, this was a tough race. I mean, I think Casa Creed is one of my favorite horses in training, so I always land on Casa Creed. But I figured I just wasn't sure. I don't know. I don't know if he's lost a little bit, touch of a step, which he's still awesome. But and there's a ton of speed in here. But I just think the 6 horse, the Filo di Ariana, just as a horse that's super in form, especially on the turf, and anytime going sort of 7 furlongs and up. This horse is just really sharp right now. And, Cassie's got some good stats going sort of this distance on the turf at this level. So this horse, I think, fits at sort of the grade 3 level. Now, I think this is a really good grade 3, but it's not like an unbeatable grade 3. I mean, I think Annapolis is pretty strong. Casa Creed, when he's on his game, is strong, but it's not like, there's not a horse I don't think you can beat. I think everybody's pretty even in this race. So obviously the 5 scares you. The 5 is speed. I think the 6 is faster, and I like that the 6 is on the outside of the 5. So I think the 6 can go, and Ortiz can make a decision as to whether he wants to clear the 5 and try and go, or maybe sit off. And this horse has sat off horses, not a lot, but a couple times. So I figure if I can get a workout, a nice trip, I'll be forwardly placed. I think this horse has some talent.
I want to bring up a comment by Michael Osen because it's Austin. Michael, if you're out there listening, and I'm assuming you are, and watching, I 100% agree with what you just said. And here it is. Sorry, Pete. No disrespect to you at all.
Well, when he wins, I don't really care what either one of you say to me.
Hate is a very strong word. Michael hates the 6.
I love hate, by the way, Michael. I love when things are hated. So I'm with you on hatred. I love it.
Appears to be just another garbage woodbine horse from that off. Mike, I think we should start seeing Canada and make him feel better, Paul, because I don't know something about Canada. Sylvain's going to come after you, Michael, from Toronto, and all those people, those wonderful, great people and horses from Canada. Wow, harsh words. Maybe he got stopped by a Mountie or something. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But with all joking aside, Pete, I hear you. And you know how much I loved this horse last time. That's the great thing about horse racing. There's other speed in this race. I don't think this is a 2-turn horse based on what I see on the PPs. This horse pretty much need the lead type. I have no idea if a softer turf is going to work out. I have this horse as a C right now, Paul. I don't even know if I'd even use this horse as a C. You've got this horse 3rd, though, so maybe I'm completely wrong, and you guys are right.
Well, I have him as a B. I think this is a very it's a much more interesting race than the other stakes race for sure, because you could make a really good case for a minimum of 3 of them, I think, and which means you might get a little better price than you think you're going to get. My only issue with the 6 is, and someone put it in the comment, really kind of had everything his own way last time. 47-4 and still couldn't hold on, on a 1-turn mile. So that's my issue. I have him as a B. He'll be a B or a C for me. I went to Annapolis. I don't know if it's my turn to say who I went to, but I'll make it my turn. I went to Annapolis. I just think this horse is pretty solid when you look at whom he's lost to. Saratoga Derby last year, Nation's Pride, Breeders' Cup Mile, over his head, but took real money in that race, lost to Modern Games. And the only other loss is the Penn Mile last year. They absolutely would never have run that race on turf if it weren't the Penn Mile. The turf was about 8 feet deep. It was like running in water. So
that was horrible.
I just think this horse. I don't think this horse is going to be 8-5. Casa Creed is a horse that you have to take seriously. Every time I think he might be on the downside, he runs pretty well. And, there's nothing wrong with that effort last time that we saw at Belmont, Howard, with Caravel and Big Invasion. So I think you might, this 2 might tick up to 9-5, maybe 2-1. And I just think the horse I think he looks good on paper, and I think he's actually a little better than he looks.
Guys, I think this is a 2-horse race, and I don't mean to just make this simple and go with the 2 chalks. You guys know how much I love to find interesting prices. I just don't see it here. To me, the 5 and 6 are both really nice horses, but they're going to cancel each other out, or at least Midday Image, who's just cheap speed on the inside. The number 4 is not slow. I don't see a scenario in which someone gets loose. And even if they do get loose, I'm not sure they're classy enough, because I think Annapolis and Casa Creed are just better. My only concerns with Annapolis and Casa Creed is a possible wet or a soft turf course. We don't know about either one of them really on a soft turf course, although there's a lot of question marks through the whole field. But especially Annapolis, who ran very poorly at Penn when he was a 2-year-old. Yes, he's a zillion times better horse now. Yes, that was a complete bog. It's not going to be that way Saturday, even if it's wet. I get all of that, but maybe Annapolis is just better on firm. My feeling is that Casa Creek could probably run on anything. And guys, he's just simply the best closer in a race with a lot of speed. And I think he maybe has lost a little bit off the fastball, but I still think he's good enough to beat this field based on the race flow. Any final thoughts from you guys before I move on?
Ran one of the best races of his career in the 4-star Dave at Saratoga last year.
Yep, sure did.
He really ran well that race, beating a real good Chad horse, Regal Glory. So,
I mean, I hope the 8 wins, because I'll be rooting for the 8. I'll have the 8 on my ticket. I'll have the 2. I'll have them all sort of weighted. I like them about the same. I mean, I like the 6 at a little bit more of a price, but Casa Creed's one of my horses. I hope he fires. The thing that bothers me a little bit about him is he still stays too far enough back to where maybe his kick isn't as strong as it used to be. Maybe it will be in this field, but he's always a little bit too far back to sort of just get the win. And that's been the only thing that's been hurting him lately. So I'd love to see him do it, though.
I do prefer him at 1 turn, Pete. I think he has a little bit of a kick at 1 turn.
I agree, Paul.
Okay. I looked at Anaconda too. Again, I'm not sure about an off turf, and I don't know about the distance with this horse. I know he's gone a mile before, but this is a big class test. So there's definitely an interesting horse in this race. It's going to be fascinating. I'm chalking out, for better or for worse, in this particular race. I'm going to try to find prices elsewhere.
Anaconda's on the upswing a little bit, though, so I like that one there too. I'm with you.
I'm sorry,
with you, Howard. Anaconda, it's a little bit. It looks like to be improving, so maybe needs to improve a little more, but at least is getting better. Whereas some of these other ones maybe are what they are at this point.
Paul, perhaps Anaconda will try to take a stranglehold of this field. There you go. All right. I try to keep up with the journalists here in the room with the words.
But it could be a big mountain to climb to beat the 5.
Very good. Pete, any puns for you before we move on?
No,
we could be here all night.
Puns aren't my strength, so I'll let you guys.
I think we just lost 5 people.
I was going to say, I'll let you guys lose viewers.
Then they're going to call out the Navy with the 2.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well,
I could just.
That's why this guy's been writing a book, and we're not, Pete. That's pretty much.
And I did have a story in the special today. Everything you want to know about tomorrow's Coronation Cup Stakes is covered in today's Saratoga special.
Beautiful. That'll be a nice race, too.
By the way, did you guys get a B in English with all these fantastic puns? Did you like that?
Wow. English B on the inside. Pete Visco stepping up his game.
I could dig one up if I need to. Every once in a while.
That came out of left field. That was pretty impressive.
That was good.
There you go. Let's move on to the next race.
Let's go on the next race. Let's talk about the Sanford, guys. Grade 3, race 10, 175,000. This is for the 2-year-old boys. So this is the male version of the Schuylerville, pretty much. 6 furlongs. It's a field of 10, and there's a huge Moorline favorite, number 9, Gold Sweep. Asterson, Jose Ortiz, we're all going with this horse. Pete, I'll let you talk first. If, and it's an if, these are 2-year-olds, if he runs back to his last buyer, this race is over.
This horse is awesome. Looks awesome. I love this horse. I love watching this horse run. I hope he runs as good as he looked, even the last 2 in both, even though the debut wasn't a win. I thought he looked really good in the debut, going super short. Feel like the distance is only going to get this horse better. And that last one was just super powerful, and he looks big and strong and strides out. So I love this horse. I hope he turns out to be great.
Now he's the 6th here. I like the fact that he rated. That's very important.
Oh, I love, yep.
Able to he did it kindly, and he just swept by the field. The number 2 is in this race. I believe Yo-Yo Candy is coming back. Once he got to the top of stretch, Pete, he really separated and showed an explosion that these other horses didn't have. He sort of did it almost a hand ride from about, it just froze up on me. But this is a hand ride from here, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't even have, and looking under the
Paco
shoulder, and and
not Paco.
Didn't have to do anything and ran professional, which we love to see in a second start, like you said, sort of swept in hand. Jose didn't have to work too hard to sort of get him going and get him outside. And I don't know, I just thought he looked fantastic, and I hope that's the same horse that shows up on Saturday.
Paul, there's not much to add. The only reason I'm putting some other horses in the mix here in my pick 5, these are 2-year-olds. I mean, things can happen. They don't break great. Maybe if it's a little sloppy, maybe they don't like the mud kicked back in their face. I mean, we saw a maiden win a 2-year-old stake today. Like, shit happens. But other than that excuse, I just don't see how this horse loses.
Yeah, if you want to beat this, and if it's wet, by the way, it's even makes more of a case for being by Speightstown. If you want to make a case against the 9, you say, Saratoga, it's the graveyard of favorites.
Right.
That's the argument. There's nothing on paper to argue against them. But it's a Saturday at Saratoga, and as you said so eloquently, Howard, shit happens.
Paul, let's really quick talk about the 3 and 7. Then we got to get to the last race. I looked at Triple Trey. I liked his race. Again, it was synthetic, but he did something that we're not sure a lot of the other horses can do, which is close. And the thing is, though, he did need to be asked. He's the 6th right here. Look, he's under the whip already, Paul. He did need to be asked. There was a little bit of a speed duel, but he did pass horses pretty well. I think he's got some upside. You've got him for 2nd.
Yeah, well, because my pick today of a horse coming out of a 5-furlong Woodbine, 5-furlong synthetic race going into the 2-year-old stakes race worked out so well today, I want to come back with it on Saturday.
She was really dead on the board, wasn't she today, Paul? That turned me off. I was going to use her.
Yeah, it's just,
she was taking no money at all.
Again, example number 12 million, where I'm pretty sure the favorite's not going to win, and I come up with the wrong horse. But yeah, you know what? The Bolt de Oros are really running, Howard. I didn't check, but I don't think Barbara Minshall ships down here all that much. I like the fact that Louis Saez is getting on the horse. You know, again, strictly as if you want to have like a C at a big number, who if you beat the 9, you know, whatever win odds you have on your horse, the odds are going to be much higher in the pick 5.
Yeah. I'm not going to show the replays, Pete, because we need to get to the last race, but I just want to mention you have the 4-2 who lost to Gold Sweep in that race by 10, but puts blinkers on. Maybe you like this, you know, this horse could be interesting underneath.
I love the 4 underneath.
Oh, go ahead.
For some reason, and it's more of a flyer, but there was a couple things. I do like the blinkers. I like the fact that the horse was sort of on the rail, and then instead of taking the rail and sort of taking a straight shot in the lane, then kicked out maybe like 3-4 path and sort of lost a little bit of momentum. And then Gold Sweep just ran away. So it looks like 10 is bad, but it wasn't that bad compared to the rest of the field. I think with the blinkers on, and so many times we see this where you see like a great horse who beat another horse, and then a bunch of other horses new shooters come in, And the one that ran against that horse last time winds up running second. And we just see that a lot. And at 15-1, I'm like, I'll take a shot. Again, I'm just looking for underneath cold exactas or, a cold try or something like that. So I'm not looking to beat the 9 with any of these.
The horse I like quite a bit underneath is a horse we all should know, because this horse ran against one of the horses that we have small ownership of, Shards.
Yep.
I thought Dickens ran really well. That was a live Gulfstream race to me. Coming out of race that, again, the horse finished third is a horse that myself, Pete, and Paul have small ownership in with Shards. I like the way he did it. Juan Alvarado is good with young horses. And you know what I also really like is that this horse was given time after his win, number 1. And look at these works, 47 breezing at Gulfstream. But then what I really like, whoops, didn't want to do that. Let me get rid of that. But what I really like, guys, is I like the local work. When I say local, I don't mean Saratoga, but work in New York, which tells me that they were fully intended to race this horse in this race on Saturday. If this horse was like just coming from Gulfstream, guys, like just shipped up for the race, I wouldn't like it. But this horse has been in New York for a while, has a work at Belmont, like getting used to the new surroundings, the new being climatized. I think Dickens is a real horse. I don't think he can beat the 9, but that's my sort of interesting horse to finish second. Who knows what the prices are going to be? We'll see, guys. I'm sorry. Did you want to say something, Paul?
Well, I was just going to say, if they were going to ship to New York, why not ship up here and put them on the track up here?
There wasn't a stable available. I don't know. It's a good question, but
by the way, Pete, Danny Velasquez, who trains the 4, is a great guy. He trained Brooklyn Strong, New York bred, who actually ran in the Kentucky Derby. He's a park space guy. He's a really good guy, and I would love to see him win a race like this.
I meant to mention that to you because I noticed that it was Brooklyn. I forgot it, and then I saw it when I was doing the research. And I know you really like Brooklyn Strong, right? Wasn't that a horse that you really liked?
It's a great story. It's a New York bred. They paid $5,000 for, and ended up he got in the Derby with 10 points that year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I was going to mention that to you. I forgot.
But Danny is a really good guy.
Well, let's get him second then. Sorry, Howard.
You got it.
Race 11, guys. This is the final leg, pale leg of the pick 5. It's a maiden special. It's on the turf, 5.5 furlongs. It's a field of 12. There's also 2 AEs and 1 main track only. And Ludwig on the bottom is a major player if it comes off the turf. Obviously, when you look at the PPs, you'll know. In the main body of the field, the Moorline favorite is the number 2, Beer Run, who's got the rail for Ward and Johnny V. Pete, let's go to you first. This is the obvious horse. It looks best on paper. Ran well last time. My only concern is, can he replicate that? Number 1. Number 2, it's the rail going 5.5 can be a little bit tricky. Other than that, this horse looks extremely logical.
Yeah, I didn't mind the rail. I agree with you, but I didn't mind the rail as much because I think I think he's going to be speed, and if he can just get out, then he can be okay. And it's a Ward horse. The buyer you have to look at the buyer and sort of respect it. Although the thing that concerned me a little bit too was the time form didn't like the race nearly as much. So time form only gave it a 94. So if you use that as a barometer instead of buyer, you're talking maybe 74-ish, which is a jump up still, but doesn't sort of lay over the rest of the field, whereas the rest of the field are in sort of the lower buyer range. So again, I didn't love the horse as the favorite. I do think it's a horse you can maybe beat at a low price, but it costs $460,000. It's got Johnny V up. It's the early pace favors this horse. A couple stats though were weird to me. Wesley Ward and Velasquez, 3 for 28 in maiden special weight turf sprints in and around New York. But the 3 wins all came in a row in May of 2021. So other than that, that 1 month stretch, they're 0 for 25 together, which again, probably doesn't, I don't know if it means anything because it's not like Velasquez is no good, but it's and so that was weird to me. The one thing I did like though, he got pressed pretty good in that race, and he held pretty strong and put up a nice figure with that. So he just looks like he's decent quality. So if he gets a half decent trip from the rail and breaks well, I think he just looks good enough where you have to put him on the ticket.
Yeah, he lost to a good Chad Brown first,
He
but
did. Yep.
again, the beer run did not get the flow of the race like you mentioned so accurately there, Pete. He was pressed the whole way. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the 2 is going to be the favorite, and will probably win. I obviously have a different way I'm going to try to beat him. You're going to try beating with the 13, Paul. Alexis Zorba for Chad with blinks off a big layoff for Flavian if he gets in.
Yeah, and you got to think with 12 horses, there's a good chance that there's going to be at least one scratch. And I'd love to see 6-1, but if it's a Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt horse, there's no possible way he's going to be 6-1. But yeah, this is a new Chad horse. This was a Joseph O'Brien horse over here last year. Thought that got to jump up on the buyer's side. But not that much. Battle of Normandy is a West Point horse that they like a lot.
Yeah.
Running tomorrow, I think.
Running tomorrow.
Yes.
I was going to say he's definitely running this weekend. I believe Moonflyer has run pretty well. So I think that was a pretty decent race. Long layoff, but again, with Chad, no factor. Bred for turf, up, down, all around. So if this horse draws in, he will be an A for me.
And I'm thinking the same way you're thinking. Is it Bai Lounge? I don't know how to pronounce the name, but I think the 12 is interesting as the 13, and I know the 12 is in the field, and I think the 12 is better than the 13. 66 and 65 buyers as a 2-year-old. This horse by Pharaoh of a Bernardini mare, and you have to think that Mott's going to have this horse improved. Gets gelding, Lasix, has been working very well. Mott does not listen. It's a dirt work, but guys, June 25th, 47-1 breezing on the training track on the dirt. I have a feeling this horse can be more tactical. The 12 hole is not ideal at all, going 5.5. But I think this horse is going to show enough speed. Junior, his main guy, is on him. I think he's improving, or he's going to be improving. He's my alternative. I think it's mainly 212. If someone else wins, I'm probably going to lose. I just want to mention one of the horse guys.
I like the 12 with you, by the way, Howard. I'm with you on the. I like the 12. That 12 was an A level for me.
I want to see how Nickel gets bet, because this is a $250,000 into mischief, guys, for Luis Saez, for Gargan, who is not great first time, but has got good works. I don't know if Nickel is live, but if this horse is any like 7-1 or less, look out. Nickel to me is the one first time starter that I'd be interested in using, but I'm mainly just going 212 here, guys. Any final thoughts before we go to our picks?
The note I had on the 5, because I like that horse too, but I actually thought I liked it more on dirt. And that's what threw me a little bit. Maybe they'll
scratch if it's on turf. Yeah, we don't know.
I don't know.
They all know there was rain in the forecast, so we don't know exactly the intention, right?
Gargan was 2 for 43 first-time starters on turf specifically. So,
okay.
But I thought that horse, at least pedigree-wise, I thought looked pretty solid, and it just threw me. The turf sprint, I didn't think it was a sort of a turf sprinty sort of pedigree, so that's what threw me a bit.
All right, let's go to our pick 5s, guys. Here's our pick 5s. I'm ready to write these down. Your favorite host or co-host. Here we go. Pete, we're going to have you go first. 1, 4, 5 with 7, 9, 10, 11. With 2, 6, 7, 8 with 9. With 2, 4, 8, 12, $96. You're singling gold sweep. It's very logical.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everybody, that's going to be the pretty obvious one. So you don't like to piggyback along with everyone else in the world, but, I'm not going to put another horse up against a horse I think is just much better than the field. First leg just went with actually sort of the 3 of the top choices, so it wasn't anything too crazy there. I think the second leg is tough. Again, I have 7, 9, 10, 11, so I'm just living on the outside, so we'll see what happens there. I went pretty deep in the 9th in the Kelso. I like Annapolis the same as you guys. Obviously, I like the 6. I have Anaconda in there just as a flyer and see if we can get that one up, and that would be the price horse. Then Gold Sweep in the 10th, and then in the last race, the 2. I have the 12 with you, and then I have the 4 and the 8, who we didn't talk about. But again, those 2 are a little bit more price horses. So again, if we get the 9 wins, you're going to have to get a price somewhere. So hopefully either in that last leg or maybe in the second leg.
It's interesting. As logical as the 2 looks in the last race, we're all using many, as you're going to see, because so we don't really trust the 2, which is interesting. Paul's
Yeah.
going 5 deep in the last race. He's going 1, 3, 4 with 9, 10, 11 with 2, 8 with 7, 9 with 2, 4, 8, 12, 13. You're using the 7, the other Sin horse in the Sanford, and you're not convinced Beer Run's going to win the last race either.
Yeah, and again, we talk about this all the time, but obviously, I don't think the 7 has an equal chance to win the Sanford as the 9. So on my ABC ticket, the 9 will be an A and the 7 will be a C, maybe a B if I get frisky. If I get frisky on Saturday, maybe a B. But I did want to. I think you could. I think you can really lean on Annapolis. I did put Kazakreed in because I've underestimated that horse in the past and gotten burned. And yeah, no matter how they look on paper, the last race. I mean, look at today. The 7 looked pretty formidable on paper. The last race, walked out of the starting gate, ran a monster. Right? Was the best horse in the race, but
Right.
things happen, and so I want to. If I could get to that leg, I want to be deep.
Did I single gold sweep, guys?
I would hope so.
Yeah, I mean, come on, I'm not silly here. 1, 4, 5, 6 with 2, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11 with 2, 8 with 9 with 2, 5, 12. It's a $72 ticket. I'm spreading the first 2. I'm going very logical in the second 2. The 2 stakes. I'm not getting cute there. I think the prices you're going to get on Saturday for me, guys, later in the card are in the non-stake races. I'll throw the 5 in Pete if he runs. I'm a little bit interested. I'm definitely interested in the 12 in the last race. Again, Beer Run is very logical. Maybe he'll just win anyway. If it comes chalk in the last 3, it's not going to pay much, but it's Saratoga. The chance of that happening, guys, are just not very good. All right, we got Jim Miller waiting in the bullpen, guys, from Hawthorne. We're going to let you guys go. Fantastic job all week long. Paul, I will see you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. The first segment, Saratoga today. Very excited. Pete Visco, Paul Howard, great job, guys. Rest up. Have a great weekend. Good luck on Saturday afternoon at Saratoga. Take care, guys.
See you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right. There we go. Let's bring on from Hawthorne Racecourse. I got to bring up the banner. There he is, Mr. Jim Miller. Jim, how are we doing today?
Doing okay. Busy week for racing this week, only for the fact that we dealt with some really ugly weather here in the Chicagoland area. And at the same time, the HISA racetrack accreditation team was on site at Hawthorne the last couple of days. So running around a little bit with like a chicken with my head cut off, but that's okay.
Well, knowing you and the people at Hawthorne, I'm sure HISA found nothing wrong whatsoever. Everything was pristine, perfect, ready to go, and you got it passed with flying colors, right?
I'm sure we did. I mean, we have a great staff. So many of the protocols we have in place, and we've learned a lot over the years, so that's good too. But you know what? They had a great crew that came out there, so that was nice. They were very helpful, very beneficial, and they knew the fact that we had live racing going on, so there was kind of like, hey, go about your day, do your thing. If we have a question, we'll ask you, but we're not going to get in your way. So really, it was a good group that came out. So it was nice working with them.
Terrific. Again, we're with Jim Miller. We're going to talk about the late pick 4 on Sunday and a few other things. So don't go anywhere, folks. Prices very much abound, not only at Saratoga, but also at Hawthorne. It was a little scary yesterday. We had the tornado warnings in the area. I don't know what it's like in Cicero, but O'Hare Airport was under a tornado warning and got a little scary.
So I'll explain to you exactly what it was like. Our last race loaded in the gate. The horses took off as they were coming down the stretch for the race. All our phones went off with the tornado warning. That was at Hodgkins. And for those that know where Hawthorne is in relation to Hodgkins, Hodgkins is 5.1 miles away from Hawthorne. And the note was that it was moving to the northeast, which was directly in line with us. So horses crossed the finish line. We notified our outriders. We have 3 outriders on the track to grab whatever horses after they were dismounted and basically jog them back to their barn area to get everybody off the track. They got off the track. We evacuated our upstairs area. And I can tell you within 30 seconds after getting downstairs, Peter Galassi, our track announcer, and I were looking out the window, and it was just a cloud of debris and that just swirling around right in front of us. So
Wow.
went right over Hawthorne, very minimal damage, no damage to the barn area, so that was good. But yeah, it was very scary, very ugly for a brief period there.
Wow, I did not know it was that serious. Well, we could talk for a whole other show about how important the backtrack workers are and all these other people that are involved. Great job, Jim Miller, by you and the whole staff for getting everyone to a safe area. Thank goodness that all worked out
Turned
okay.
out
That's
good.
gonna be one of your worst. There's a lot of nightmare scenarios that could happen at a racetrack, but a serious weather event that comes on just like that has got to be right towards the top of the list, right?
Yeah, weather and fire. And especially if you're an Illinois racetrack, fire is something that everybody knows quite a bit about. So,
unfortunately,
those are the two things that'll scare you the most.
All right. Well, let's hope our picks are on fire. How about that
Yes.
transition? That's the kind of transition, Jim, you're
Well
going to get on your feed on Sunday. So be ready. And people are like, what the hell is Howard talking about? Real quick, again, thanks everyone at Hawthorne. We're going to do something like about 2 races, I believe, like in a 1-hour show on our podcast. We're finalizing that. But I will be on with Jim Miller and whoever else on the live track feed with Hawthorne. Maybe we'll be on the turf course, on the dirt, inside. Who knows what the situation is going to be. But I will be next to Jim Miller reporting on the live track feed through the simulcast, through YouTube, whatever. I did that at Canterbury Downs. I've done it a few other places. Have not done it at Hawthorne. Jim, very excited about Sunday. Thanks again. Let's make sure we get these races correct. So I want to tip out some good winners for people and make myself look smart, even though picks will probably be coming from you, of course. The picks are on the bottom of the screen.
Yep.
Race 4, you've got 274. This is the late pick 4 again on Sunday. Let me go ahead and bring up the Equibase here. Got it right here. And you are going with the 2 in the first leg, which is a claiming 62.5. They're going 5.5 on the dirt. You're going with the Indiana bred. This is a price.
Yeah.
Shiny shoes from Miraz and Giles. What do you like about this one?
What I like is that I hate the race. And when I say that, I say it for a reason. These non-winners of 2 races are always so tough because you don't get a whole lot of form out of any racehorse. Now, the one thing you look at is that start 4 back, that race on October 3rd last year at Horseshoe Indianapolis. That was a good race, but the key was the running style there, because when you scroll up and down this field, the 3 Opaline can show speed, 5 Lunacy can show speed, 6 Getting Down can show speed. There's enough horses out there, and even the 1 Hey Ma can get away and show speed. So you kind of are looking at a race where there's 4 horses that are all kind of the same style. They show speed, but if they don't make the top, they kind of back out of it. So if they all go, then what you're left with is you have the 4 Bells of Joy and the 7 Sequoia, who are combined 2 for 69 lifetime. So they're real hard to endorse. So kind of by process of elimination, I end up on the 2 Shiny Shoes. And Antonio Miraz has had a good meet. And here's the thing about it. This is a horse that is an Indiana bred. They could go to Horseshoe Indianapolis and run, but the horse has been training at Hawthorne. It's the first start of the year. And again, running style kind of suits. Set back a little bit early on, come running at him late. And if the horse is ready, maybe it can pop. And if it does so, it's going to pop at a big price.
I'm not sure which races I'll be on for the simulcast for. That's one of the things I want
If
to
your
talk
timing
about.
works, I'm having you on for the pre-race show. So handicap that entire card, Howard.
Okay, I'll do so. Will I be made fun of picking the 7 on top, who's won
No.
37 lifetime?
No, we don't do that. We just make cases for horses and go from there. I actually, and here's the thing. I picked this horse last time out. You just look at the race. That's a heartbreaking race in that last out, because the horse got beat ahead and battled every step of the way around. So, yeah. Matt Miller says yes, by the way. Matt says you will get made fun of. Come on, Matt. Let's be nice.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, thanks, Matt. Well, that's coming from Matt. Let's go to race 5. You're going with the 1 here, Degree of Risk. This is a nice allowance race. They're going 1.70 on the turf. Jim, we'll talk about the surface here situation in a second, but you're going at the 1 who's 4 to 5 morning line for Owen Hardy in Centennial. Let me bring you on now. We've talked about the weather.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, do we know 100% positive it'll be off the turf Sunday
yet?
No,
we don't know that yet. So that's the good thing. And so for those that know, we have literally had a foot of rainfall in the last 10 days here in the Chicagoland area and at Hawthorne. So it's been a lot of rain. The thing about it, though, the turf course drained well enough that for Monday, we were able to get the turf course actually mowed last Monday, and then the rain hit again on Tuesday. So if we don't get anything or it's a minimal amount of rain leading up to Sunday's card, I'm telling you, we're going to try to run on it. So this is a race that you hope to run on it because it's a pretty good field. Some of these horses people may be familiar with because especially when you scroll down to the 4-horse Simple Logic, the winner of that race, if people don't remember, was a horse by the name of Command Central, who was the 80-1 shot that won Eddie O of the Hawthorne Invitational. So some horses coming out of that key race. But here's the thing with the one horse. Owen Hardy sends horses for one reason, and it's to go and win races. So you look at this field. This is a horse that is coming in out of a race at Santa Anita. They're sitting in a spot here where it's a lot of consistent races on the grass. If you're running anywhere from that 81 to 86 race, probably good enough to defeat this field. So that's the horse that I'm going to use in here, but I did go with degree of risk, and it's going to be a short price, but probably deservedly so.
We threw some puns early in the show. I'll throw another one here, but well, it's not a pun. I was going to say the exact name. Forget it. I'm just going to move on. If it's a little wet, Jim, if it's a little wet, there could be a degree of risk with the one because the horse been in California and coming off a layoff.
Yeah.
If it's wet turf, I'd be a little bit dubious, but class-wise, this horse lays over the field.
You by the way, you said dubious. I owned a horse named Dubious.
I love
Dubious
that.
actually won 5 times for me, so we're checking out for sure.
Wet turf. Any concern for this Godolphin-owned horse?
No, 2 starts on a wet turf. One was a 3rd place effort, and that was a 3rd place effort against Stakes Company. So, I think the horse is going to be just fine. It is going to have some give. If we're on it, it will have some give. It definitely won't be firm. It'll probably be more on the yielding side if we do run on it on Sunday.
And the rails would be out then, I'm assuming?
All the way in. We're all the way in at 0 feet. We haven't been on it for over 2 weeks. This turf course looks pristine. It looks like we haven't run a race on it all meet long. So that's a beautiful thing, too. Once we get back on it, it's going to be turn and burn for the remainder of the meet.
The only reason I thought the rails might be out is because the inside of the turf doesn't drain quite as well. Maybe the outer paths are drier or no.
It's one of those things. Our turf course, because it's got that little bit of a pitch to it, it's definitely going to work its way down towards the inside a little bit, but it's just one of those things where it's really not going to matter. I'm one that's a little bit more strict about the turf course, meaning that if it's too wet or if I think it's borderline, I tend to take races off the turf. So it's usually, I usually prefer that you have to have a firm or a good turf course to stay on. So see how it looks for Sunday. I'll go out there Saturday morning and walk it, so I'll have a gauge from Saturday to Sunday as well.
Okay. Race 6. This is the penultimate leg of the pick 4. It's 6 furlongs, older filling mares, 5 claimers, field of 7. Moorline favorites number 6, Palace Magic for Banks and Lascano.
Yep.
You're not messing around. That's who you're going with.
No reason to mess around in here. Here's the thing about it. You look at the last couple of starts for Palace Magic. They weren't bad. It was an allowance race, and then it was followed up by a conditioned $25,000 claimer. That was actually a pretty good effort out of Palace Magic in that last start. And people are saying, okay, well, what's the deal? Now you're all the way back for $5,000. But if you look at the start 3 back, the horse was claimed for $5,000. So you had that 4th place effort. You drop back in for 5 if you win. And even if somebody goes back in for the claim, you're ahead in the end here. So that's the reason that I went to Palace Magic. I think the running style kind of suits. Probably just settle back a little bit early on, move forwardly in the lane. But I wouldn't mess around in this spot at all.
And you had a nice single last week. I played the late pick 4, and of course the favorite number 1 had to win the first leg.
That was the only one. Yeah, that was the only one that got us. I'm watching that race, and I'm like, this is the one horse that can beat me the whole sequence. And sure enough, and it ran a very good race. Yeah, Blaze Beauty was a good solid effort there.
Yeah, I mean the horse deserved to win, but there's nothing wrong with trying to beat a favorite ever, in my opinion, unless it's someone that's just real obvious. Let's go to the last race. It's a $8,500 claiming race. It is 5.5 furlongs scheduled for the turf. So this is interesting. This is lower level horses on the turf sprinting. So chaos could ensue, especially with a big field of 12. This is the race that I would guess some prices might happen here, Jim. The Moorline favorite is, let's see, who do you got here? The number
Clear
6?
And convincing, the 6.
Clear and convincing for Mr. Ravelli and Mojica, and you have that horse second. You're going to go with Maligator for Reed and Cologne, 10-1.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you will see my pick 4 ticket at the end, but it's the short price favorites in the middle, but then the chance for just chaos on both ends here. Here's the thing about Maligator. There's a couple reasons to like this horse. On the turf, this horse is just fine, but I think even better if the race comes off the turf. But you look at the start 3 back, that was actually a kind of deceiving effort. That was around 2 turns, going a mile and a 16th. You look at the last out, that was a race at this level. The horse was entered, was going to run on turf or dirt, ended up staying in on the dirt and rallying to go on to win that race by a couple of lengths. But this is one of those fields that's kind of interesting here because you have a good amount of pace in this race. You also have a turf course that's probably going to have a little bit of give to it. The one time Maligator won on the turf was the time when it was a wet turf course. So this is a horse that I think does have a good solid shot, should be able to just kind of settle back, make that one run late. And like you said, Howard, if the inside's a little bit more wet than the outside, this is a horse that's probably going to just kind of loop out there to the center of the course and try to swoop them in the lane.
We talked about this at for Saratoga, Jim.
Yeah.
The 5.5 at Saratoga, you can close and win. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
you can close and win it at Hawthorne too, but I think it would be safe to say you prefer horse to be more forwardly placed sprinting on the turf at Hawthorne if that occurs on Sunday. Would you agree with that? Or no?
Yeah, just because the turns are a little bit tighter. So you have the potential to get kind of fanned out wide a little bit going into the end. So it does kind of come down to that trip a little bit for sure. The thing that's just interesting about that last race, and you mentioned, especially with cheaper claimers, there's a lot of horses that are just that wing it type, hoping that they can get to the distance. And all of a sudden you hit that 16th pole and they just start backing up, and it's who can weave their way through. And that's how I see this race unfolding.
And the other thing I found with cheaper horses, Jim, if they can get brave, but if they don't get the lead, as you mentioned in the previous race, they can completely spit the bit, and and you can see craziness. So it's just, the break is very important. But perhaps we'll be talking about it live on the feed before the last race. But it's going to be fascinating. Let's get to your pick four, Jim. You've got an interesting ticket here. It's a 20. I don't think we've seen $21 ticket, but obviously when you hit an all button with, I guess, 7, right? That's going to happen. Jim is math teacher. See, I knew he had 7. There you go. Jim is going all with 1, 4, with 6, with 3, 6, 10. Very affordable, $21. Can you explain your ticket here, Jim?
Sure, it was a perfect segue. Like you just said, cheap horses, especially cheap horses with speed that don't make the top, have the chance to just kind of fall out of it. So in that first leg, there's 4 horses that are that type of racehorse. So if they all go out there, those are going to be the 4 shortest price horses. If they all go out there and duke it out on the front end, they could all back out of it because chaos could happen, which is why I have the 15-1 shot on top. But like I said, I don't like anybody in that race. So I'm going to make sure I get out of that race. Logical horses, the next 2 legs, the Owen Hardy horse and the Chris Block horse in that race on the grass. I really think Palace Magic can't be beaten in race number 6. Of course, anybody can be, but I think the horse will be pretty tough. And then looking at that last leg, you just kind of look at a couple different options there. Clear and Convincing is a horse that everybody knows will take action because it's Ravelli. It's the first start of the year off a lengthy layoff. So again, you have a little bit of a vulnerable favorite in there. You have some price horses that have recent victories coming into this spot for some pretty good connections that can handle turf or dirt. So that's the reason I went 3 deep in that last leg.
I like the ticket. See if we can get a price there with the all ball and get our single hone. Jim, before we end the show, I'd be remiss not to bring up a huge weekend for this podcast and Hawthorne Racecourse combined. First, I'm going to show the banner. I'm going to let you do the talking just for a minute here as we end the show. Please talk about what's happening this Saturday, Jim.
Pool parties are awesome. And when we call it a pool party, it's a betting pool party. So what we do, like you see there, $35, you get appetizer, race program, betting tips. And when we talk about appetizers, it's a good amount of food. So it's one of those things where you can go out there, you have a really good time. You're going to be out there with the podcast, but then what happens is everybody gets put into a betting pool, and you see it's $1,000. So you're going to go out there, you're going to put $1,000 in wagers on the line over the course of this 2-hour period and try to make some money for everybody. And we've had a lot of success. You've had a lot of success. Myself and Emily Gullickson did. We've had pool parties where players are going in, they're spending their $35, getting all the food, drink, appetizers in a great afternoon, and they're leaving with $150, $175, $200. So if you want to come out and just enjoy the day with everybody, because the racing's going to be great regardless, and then you get a little bit of food, a little bit of drink, and a chance to leave with some money in your pocket, it's definitely worth going out there, and it's a really cool location.
Matt Miller says something very interesting. Let's print off 50 or so of those pick 4 tickets that Jim just put up and give them out at the pool party. Love the way you're playing the picks, Jim. Although I might be inclined to short up to a pick 3. So there you go, Matt. Matt might just be printing off some tickets
Right.
For
And here's
free.
the only note I'd make for Matt. It's just the lower takeout on the pick four. So at a 15% takeout, want to give as much back to the bettors that we can.
There you go. And people can sign up in advance through HawthorneRacecourse.com.
Yep.
The other thing I do want to mention, very important, it says 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. We created this banner and all the information before we knew the times
Yep.
of Saratoga Saturday. We did this several weeks ago. It's going to be more like 3:30 to 6, everyone.
Right.
So certainly you could probably leave earlier and they could Hawthorne get your information, I suppose. I don't know how that works with the pool party. But we're really not going to start the actual pool party live until about 3:30, ladies and gentlemen. And then the first race that we're going to actually cover of meaning for the $1,000 betting pool will be the start of the pick four at Saratoga, which is about 4 o'clock Central Standard Time. So if you do want to be part of the pool party, no reason to get there at 3 o'clock. You won't be missing anything. It's going to be closer to 3:30 is when we're going to start the show on the podcast and our introduction to the betting and everything. But the actual first race will not occur until about 4 o'clock. But Matt Miller, go ahead, Jim. You got that.
Right. It's great racing. Come on. There's great racing around the country, especially this weekend. So, yeah, get out there. You can pre-party. It's kind of like a tailgate. Go out there, tailgate, and enjoy yourself before you get into the pool party. But it'll be an absolute blast.
Well, let me be clear. I'm not saying show up at the OTB at 3:30. Show up at 11 when the races start in the Chicago area. I'm just saying for our pool party, it's going to start around 3:30. But of course, we're going to be there much earlier, 1:30. And real quick, Jim, about Sunday with yourself and me and whoever else will be involved with the show.
Sunday, you're going to be out at Hawthorne, and I'm going to put you to work, and that's a good thing because Sunday's one of those days where we don't have a draw for entries, which is good for me. So I'm not working on morning line odds during the course of the day and get the focus even more on the on-air duties. But I want to have you on for our pre-race show, which starts right about 2 o'clock. And then that leads into the first race. And then we're going to have you on throughout the course of the day. If we're on the turf course, I'm going to bring you out on the turf course and we'll do a hit out there and we can talk about the grass. And it's one of those things where you get a little bit of a different view when you're standing there and you look at how far away a starting gate is and the stretch leading into the first turn and some of the different things to see even the thickness of the grass and little stuff like that. So I want to bring you out there, hopefully to experience it. So let's keep our fingers crossed, Howard, that Mother Nature is good to us. But regardless, we're going to have you on multiple times throughout the course of the day. It'll be a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to having you out.
Well, I appreciate it. We're also going to, like I said, go to the HHH Racing Podcast YouTube channel. Towards the end of the card, we're going to have some things as well. And then, Jim, where can people find the simulcast feed for Hawthorne?
So at the simulcast feed for Hawthorne, I mean, there's so many different ways to find it. You look through any ADW, you have that, any of your OTBs. Come on out to the racetrack. It'll be a great time out there as well. And it's one of those things. Our feed starts a little bit later in the day. We start at 2:30 for live racing. So we basically come on about 1:30 for replays and that. But we do it for a reason because you get later in the day and those East Coast tracks start tailing off. And then the second half of the Hawthorne card becomes a little bit more of a focus as well.
And I also should say for the pool party, we're going to have some free win bets that we're giving away. We've done this as a raffle for people that are there live at the OTB. And also people have a chance to get our free subscription to Power Picks as well for our podcast. So we like to have a lot of giveaways, Jim, and make it fun. All right, that'll take care of the show. It's been fantastic. For all my co-hosts, Pete Visco, Paul Halloran, and a wonderful Jim Miller, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 275 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Crush your bets at Saratoga and Hawthorne this weekend. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing Podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.